Want to take a look behind the scenes at one of Disney's best parks, Animal Kingdom? Well, Disney Plus now has you covered with a new documentary show called Magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom from National Geographic. Stick with me and I'll break it down after the intro. Well, hello there. My name's Jeremy and welcome back to Freeform Disney, where I talk about all aspects of Disney, from the animated movies to the theme parks to Star Wars, Marvel, and Pixar, and the TV shows, and everything else in between. And that is why it's Freeform. And keep coming back every day for new daily content. If you're not subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Today we're looking at Disney's latest documentary series over on Disney Plus, and it is called Magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom. Now, it is an 8-episode docuseries by National Geographic that explores Disney's Animal Kingdom part, and also EPCOT a little too, over at Walt Disney World. And it's narrated by everyone's favorite snowman, Josh Gad. It looks like the episodes will be roughly 30 to 40 minutes long each, and now with 8 episodes released weekly, we can expect the final episode to come out somewhere around the middle of November. Gonna be a while. Now, this first episode today is called Kenya the Gutsy Giraffe. So off the bat, we know what animal we're gonna see this time around. So let us jump right on into the episode, and here's what went down. So we've got 4 main different stories and animals or areas that we look at. First off, we've got Kenya the giraffe. And like a bunch of these, we get some cool information about the different animals. So Kenya the giraffe is a Maasai giraffe, of which there are 11 of over at Animal Kingdom. Now, Kenya herself is an 11-year-old mother of 4. 3 of her kids are still there, Maximus, Amira, and Mara. And another interesting little thing for the Maasai giraffes is that there have been 11 new giraffes born in just 5 years. So they got a lot of giraffes coming in recently. And you also might notice, they really seem to like the number 11 right there. 11 Maasai giraffes, an 11-year-old mother Kenya, and 11 new giraffes in 5 years. Lucky number 11 if we're talking about giraffes. Well, we get to talk with Keeper Rory quite a good bit right over here with Kenya the giraffe. Because hey, who doesn't love a best friend with a purple tongue? Some of the interesting things there too is just how very, very patient you have to be with the giraffes, because they're very aware of the changes and will certainly react to them, and they will take their time if they feel like doing so. Now, the big storyline for Kenya the Maasai giraffe was about dealing with some overgrowth on her hoof, which really causes a lot of problems. So it requires trimmings. Now, usually those trimmings require anesthesia. That's problematic because anesthesia is always dangerous no matter who you're using on humans or non-human animals, any which way you want to go about it. But certainly on non-human animals, it can be more dangerous because we don't know as much, and also because we don't get the kind of feedback sometimes that would be more helpful. At any rate, the big idea here is to get her to voluntarily be prepared for the trimming. So we've got to get her in this chute over here and put her foot up on a block so that Dr. Dan can shave the bottom of her foot. Now, they worked on this for a while. Apparently it took them over 8 months to get her to go ahead and do it. And this, by the way, is the first giraffe they ever got to go ahead and do this voluntarily. So that is a big, big deal for them. And that means I'm sure they'll work on other giraffes that need it as well. And that's definitely great news. And it was cool to see her eventually succeed, and especially great also were all the reactions of the keepers and Dr. Dan afterward, who were just all so excited for the success of Kenya. Heck, even wanted to go throw the shavings up as confetti afterward. All 3 of them, whether it was Rory, Dr. Dan, or Nicole right there, tons of fun, and definitely loved how much the keepers really cared about that success. And hey, liked Kenya too. Then we had our section with the elephants, which was seated throughout here quite a bit. We got to meet Mac, our African elephant, who is the only bull elephant over there in Animal Kingdom right now at 5.5 tons too. We met multiple animal keepers in there. We met the other couple male elephants, Jabali and Savo. And hey, we got a few interesting little storylines in there. First off, we got to see some of the sparring and some of the elephant politics going on. And hey, Mac rules the whole thing. You'll listen to Mac when he tells you what to do. Then there was this whole continuing storyline about a hole up in the top of Mac's mouth, which was a little bit of a concern. And well, it went on for a little while, and Dr. Ryan was really checking that out. And also, it was cool during that to see Mac's ears up close. Love seeing that. Amazing ears. And then as far as that hole is concerned, there was a whole bunch of ingenuity shown in how to investigate that hole. And how, especially when working with elephants, the giant animals they are, you sometimes have to really think on your feet to figure out interesting ways to check up on them. Whether it was, in this case, GoPro cameras on sticks, thermographer cameras to check for inflammation, to see if there's an infection or if it's okay. Yeah, very interesting. And one other thing there about that whole exam. Wow, Mac was just so agreeable throughout all of that. I suppose that's one nice thing about working with the elephants as opposed to Kenya the giraffe right there. And then the last little story over there for Mac was a short little one on mating and working toward Mac becoming a 5th-time father. Now, he's the only breeding bull there, so it's really important for them to be able to continue the species and keep expanding. So we got to see Kanga, the up-and-coming matriarch, and some relationship building between the two of them. That was some nice stuff. Then on a non-animal related story, although tangentially related, we got to see some really cool stuff with the Imagineering with an artificial tree. Now, this was an artificial tree which would have lights up in it. And the reason for its existence was all having to do with the nighttime Kilimanjaro safari. Now, Animal Kingdom brought this back a few years ago after having gotten rid of it early on. Now, that was because the big problems they had were a few things. First off, not having enough light to see the animals at night, animals not just being as active. Now, this is an Imagineering solution that helps deal with that lighting issue right there. Because everyone wants to see the elephants. More than a year worth of work in creating this really impressive tree. Now look at this tree. Very much not real. In fact, it is completely made of stainless steel. But dang if you would know it from even not that far away. And then the layers of paint on it to create the moss and the lichen. I mean, wow, it looks so real. If you didn't know that it was actually fake, you'd never catch it. I mean, I suppose if you start knocking on it, you might catch it that way. So yeah, that one, super neat. And finally, our last story was over at a chicken. So we got to see Popcorn the Frizzled Chicken. And that's just fun to say. Popcorn the Frizzled Chicken. Well, anyway, we got to meet Lisa, who was an animal keeper with Popcorn and seemed super close to Popcorn and really got to tell us a story there. How poor old Popcorn was found abandoned in a parking lot, really not doing well, and got taken in by Animal Kingdom. And now she's over in the affection section at Rafiki's Planet Watch. And when she first came, though, I mean, she was super close around people, but scared of the other chickens. And Lisa even talked about how Popcorn buried her head under his shoulder when, well, first introduced to the other chickens. But now she's definitely accepted by the flock and she's happy around them. So the big storyline here for Popcorn was a major surgery. So she had an egg get stuck in her reproductive tract, and that is a big problem. So they went ahead and went with anesthesia and decided to remove her entire reproductive tract. Whew. Now that's really bad on chickens too, because apparently they're even more fragile under anesthesia, and it's a fairly complicated surgery too. And during the surgery, you got to see Lisa and a couple of the other keepers who were there watching and just the worry on their faces during it. But hey, then she got through and the relief on everybody's faces. And heck, also when she gets reintroduced to the flocks and we get to see all of the emotion and relief on Adriel's face as well. It was just really affecting, even as the audience here, just to be able to see our keepers who really did have those connections. And in this case, to good old Popcorn. And hey, the chickens were all fun to watch. And hey, so that was this episode right here. Now, let me give some overall thoughts on this episode. So first, a few things about me. I love animals. I mean, heck, it's why I got a degree in biology. And I love Disney World and Animal Kingdom. And I love Josh Gad in pretty much everything I've seen him in. So it would seem that this show would be a slam dunk, right? Well, except it wasn't. The first episode was quite a mixed bag for me, actually. I found the first 10 minutes or so a bear to get through. I may love giraffes, but it still just didn't do it. The way the documentary was presented and narrated just was not working for me. Josh Gad seemed to be trying to channel a fairly deadpan nature commentator, and it was not what I wanted to see from my commentator, regardless of whether it was Josh Gad or not. But especially if you've got Josh Gad doing it, I say let Josh be Josh, and I think it'd be far more interesting and entertaining. Well, and at any rate, for what it's worth, I think there was a little more warmth and even a speck of pep later on in the episode from our narrator. Hopefully it'll be better in some of the other episodes coming up. Now, that said, the keepers, on the other hand, were a delight. One of the highlights of this episode here. And it really came through in even this first episode here, just how much the cast members really cared about the animals they were working with. Their energy also really helped pick the episode up. And I love seeing all of the animals in here. Now, sometimes I wish it had been edited a little differently or let us see certain animals a little more, but I still love them nonetheless. And one interesting thing was how we would keep seeing pieces about how many of these animals are threatened or worse in the rest of the world, and the references to conservation. Now, this was a nice touch. I like this getting brought in. And there were also all kinds of tidbits of information thrown in, some certainly more interesting than others, but most likely you learned at least something in the course of this episode that you didn't know already. And I also really liked that one of the 4 stories we followed this time was actually an Imagineering story. That was cool as well, so I'm hoping we'll get to see some more pieces there, like how they designed the safari. I know definitely a good bit of pieces on that, but oh yeah. Definitely all kinds of good pieces here. Some great places we could potentially go with the other episodes. And ultimately, I've got to say, I miss Animal Kingdom. And this just makes me really wish I could go back to Animal Kingdom and go see it again. It's been a while. So when it comes down to it, I found this episode ultimately to be okay. With moments that were quite enjoyable, some touching, and others that just weren't quite as engaging. Now, there are still 7 episodes left, and I could break those down and let you know what I think of those too if you like. So let me know if you're interested, and I'll see about making videos for the other episodes of this magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom. Now, that's going to be an easy one for me next week to do, but it's going to get a bit trickier as we get into October, because we'll start running into a couple other shows, both The Right Stuff and later The Mandalorian, which would eventually mean that there would be 3 new episodes I would be watching on Friday to make videos on for all of you. And, well, behind Mandalorian and Right Stuff would probably be this one once we get all the way to the end of October. I gotta tell you, I really wish Disney released shows and movies on more than just Friday each week. Oh man, do I. Well, anywho. If you're interested in me doing more of these episodes here on the magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom, let me know down below. And hey, while we're at it, what about you? Have you watched this episode? Did you love getting to see a little behind the scenes action over at Walt Disney World? And hey, which animal is your favorite in today's episode? For me, I loved Kenya, but I would probably have to go with popcorn. Oh, popcorn. Yeah. Let me know down below in the comments. And hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like, a share, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you back here tomorrow for another new episode of Freeform Disney. Have a magical day, and may the force be with you. Always.